Right before my wedding ceremony started, my neighbor let his dog loose into the venue, barking, running over chairs, and tearing decorations. When we asked him why he did it, he just shrugged and said, "Weddings are a scam anyway." We had a backup plan, and finished the wedding elsewhere, but by nightfall, his dog control violations, trespassing charges, and massive fines piled up so fast that he couldn't afford to live there anymore. I live in Pinecrest, Florida. Nice little community. Older houses with big yards. I inherited my grandfather's house 3 years ago when he passed. My fiancée, Jenna, moved in soon after. The house sat on about 3 acres. Big oak trees, a small pond, and room for the garden Jenna always wanted. It wasn't just a house to us. It was our start. We worked hard to fix it up together. Nights sanding floors. Weekends repainting. She planted roses, I built a new fence. So when we got engaged, it was an easy decision. We'd have the wedding right there in the backyard. Our closest family and friends. Simple. Beautiful. Meaningful. But then there was Doug. Doug moved in next door about 8 months before the wedding. Early 50s. Grumpy. Always muttering about the city, his ex-wives, how this whole country's going to hell. He was one of those guys who never smiled unless he was making someone else uncomfortable. And he had a dog. A huge black Labrador named Diesel. Now I love dogs. Grew up with 2 labs myself. So at first, I didn't mind Diesel. Until I realized Doug treated him more like a security system than a pet. No leash. No proper training. Just let him roam wherever he wanted. Diesel dug up my flower beds. Knocked over trash cans. Left presents on my lawn almost daily. I tried to talk to Doug about it. Politely. "Hey Doug, can you keep Diesel leashed? We're trying to get the garden in order." His response? "He's a free spirit. Dogs need to roam." Just a little dirt, no big deal. So I added some fencing. Diesel jumped over it. I called animal control once. They gave Doug a warning. He tore it up in front of me. I should have known then what kind of man he was. The months rolled by. Spring turned into summer. The big day approached. Jenna and I worked side by side, turning that backyard into a dream. We strung lights through the trees. Borrowed chairs and arches from friends. My uncle built a wooden platform for the vows. We invited 60 people. Not a huge wedding, but every single guest mattered. My grandmother. Jenna's godfather. Childhood friends. People who watched us grow up. The weather was perfect that morning. By 3 p.m., the guests were arriving. Music was playing softly. My best man was handing out programs. Jenna was inside the house with her bridesmaids, finishing up. Everything felt right. Until I heard the barking. Loud. Close. And getting louder. I turned toward the driveway. Diesel. Full sprint. No leash. By the time I shouted his name, it was too late. He barreled through the ceremony area, knocking over chairs. He lunged at the floral arches and shredded them like chew toys. Guests screamed. Children ran. Elderly family members stumbled out of the way. Diesel ran straight through the cake table. Knocked over 2 glass pitchers of lemonade. Left muddy paw prints across the table linens Jenna and her mom had picked out by hand. My heart sank. I ran and grabbed Diesel's collar. He growled but didn't bite. Just wild and out of control. And then, Doug showed up. Hands in his pockets. Smirk on his face. "Doug! What the hell?" I yelled. He just shrugged. Calm as could be. "Weddings are a scam anyway. You'll thank me later." That's it. No apology. No explanation. Just turned around and strolled back to his porch while Diesel wriggled out of my grip and trampled another row of chairs. I stood there, fists clenched, watching Jenna come out the back door. She froze. Took one look at the wreckage. The flowers. The ruined cake. Tears. I'd never seen her cry like that before. Not even when her dad passed. Something snapped inside me. But not rage. Not yet. Determination. We have a backup plan, I told her. He didn't ruin this. Not today. My uncle owned a rustic event barn about 15 minutes away. We called him. Told everyone to grab their cars and follow. By 5 p.m., the guests were seated again. The damage was done, but so was the ceremony. Jenna and I exchanged vows under string lights and old barn beams. She smiled again. That made everything worth it. But while we were dancing our first dance, my brother Tyler was on his phone. Making calls. Because Doug wasn't getting away with this. Tyler had a friend named Marcus. Worked for animal control. By nightfall, 2 officers were at Doug's door. Diesel had no license. No leash. No rabies tag. Violations across the board. Doug argued. Slammed the door in their faces. Didn't matter. They mailed the citations anyway. Totaling over $3,800. And that was just the first domino. The next morning, I reviewed the security camera footage from the side yard. And there it was. Clear as day. Doug unclipping Diesel's leash. Giving him a little slap on the back. Gesturing toward my yard. He sent Diesel to destroy the wedding. It wasn't an accident. It was intentional. I copied the video and called my cousin Danielle, who was an attorney. She nearly spilled her coffee watching the clip. "Oh, we're suing the hell out of him," she said. "This isn't just negligence. This is willful destruction." By the next afternoon, Doug was served with papers for trespassing, destruction of private property, emotional distress event disruption. Pinecrest has an active HOA. Normally, they stay out of private squabbles. But once the wedding guests started sharing what happened, and once a few neighbors mentioned Diesel had been terrorizing the street for months, they got involved fast. Doug received multiple HOA violations for property negligence, fines for Diesel being off-leash and aggressive, a demand to pay restitution or face further action. Over the next 6 weeks, Animal Control fined him twice more when Diesel got loose again. The HOA fines doubled. Our civil suit moved forward. Doug tried to sell the house fast. But everyone in Pinecrest knew about the situation. He had to drop the price by $50,000 just to get someone to bite. The buyers? A retired couple who owned 2 very yappy chihuahuas. Poetic justice. Doug moved out in the middle of the night. No apology. No farewell. Nothing. Doug was gone from Pinecrest. For a while, that felt like enough. Jenna and I rebuilt. Replanted. Cleaned up the yard. Friends and family pitched in. We even held a little garden party a month later to replace the ruined wedding memories with good ones. But something kept nagging at me. It felt too easy. Doug had tried to ruin our wedding day. He did it on purpose. And while the fines, the lawsuit, and the house sale hurt him financially, it didn't feel like true accountability. He didn't say sorry. He didn't seem to care at all. He just ran away. And then Tyler sent me a text. "Guess who's in Hialeah now? And still letting Diesel off leash." I didn't believe it until he sent pictures. Doug had moved into a crumbling apartment complex near the industrial side of Hialeah. Chain link fences. Broken streetlights. And there was Diesel, still running wild in the parking lot. Old habits. Same dangerous neglect. Except this time, Doug was in a city with strict leash laws and aggressive animal control. I didn't need to lift a finger. Over the next 2 weeks, Animal Control received 4 separate reports about Diesel causing problems in the new neighborhood. Chasing kids. Knocking over garbage cans. Once, Diesel even cornered a small dog near a playground. Marcus, my brother's friend, still had connections in the county. He kept me updated. First warning. Second warning with fines. Third strike, court-mandated seizure order. The morning Animal Control showed up at Doug's new apartment, I was told Diesel tried to bolt. Officers had to use a catch pole. Diesel wasn't aggressive, just scared and confused. Doug stood there yelling that it was all lies, that people were out to get him. But no one was out to get him. He did this to himself. The officers removed Diesel under the dangerous dog statute. Doug was slapped with another $5,000 in fines and banned from owning animals for 5 years. The apartment complex issued Doug a notice of lease termination. Too many complaints. Too much liability. He had 60 days to vacate. Right around that time, Jenna and I received an envelope in our mailbox. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Hope you're happy. You destroyed my life. No signature. But the handwriting? I'd seen it before. Doug's property complaint letters to the HOA. Same blocky, angry scrawl. I showed it to Jenna. We didn't destroy his life, she said. He did. She was right. But I wasn't done yet. I hired a private attorney to follow up on the civil suit. Doug hadn't shown up to court. He'd ignored every notice. We filed for a default judgment. Not just for the original damages, but for court costs, attorney fees, emotional distress, property replacement costs, total judgment $27,450. Enforceable as a lien on any property or assets Doug acquired for the next 10 years. By the end of month 4 after the wedding, Doug lost his house. Lost Diesel. Lost his apartment. Faced the court judgment hanging over his head. Neighbors in Hialeah spread the word about him. Last I heard, he tried moving back to the west coast of Florida. But most HOAs require background checks now. Especially for people with dog-related violations. 2 months after the court judgment, I figured that was the last I'd ever hear of Doug. Jenna and I were finally settling into normal life. We planted new flowers. We went on a delayed honeymoon. But Doug wasn't the kind of man to let things go. I should have known. One Friday night, around midnight, my phone buzzed. It was my neighbor 2 houses down, Carla. Ryan, there's someone creeping around your backyard. My heart stopped. I looked out the window. Nothing. Dark and quiet. But when I checked the side yard camera feed, there he was. Doug. Dark hoodie. Flashlight. Pacing back and forth by the garden fence where Diesel used to break in. He didn't have Diesel now. He was alone. I didn't call the police right away. I grabbed a flashlight and quietly stepped out the back door. Doug! I barked across the yard. Get off my property! He froze like a deer in headlights. You ruined my life! He shouted back. I just wanted to talk. You owe me! I moved closer, gripping my phone in one hand, ready to call 911. I don't owe you a damn thing. Leave now or I'm pressing criminal charges. Doug's face twisted in the flashlight beam. All rage and desperation. You took everything from me. Diesel. My house. My money. You think you won? No, I said. You lost. You did this to yourself. He didn't respond. Just stormed off toward the street. I called the police anyway. They took a report. Luckily, he hadn't damaged anything this time. But that was the last straw. With the trespassing report on file, my attorney pushed to add criminal trespass and violation of court orders to Doug's already hefty legal troubles. A warrant was issued. Doug was picked up 2 towns over, trying to live out of a friend's camper. He was booked for trespassing, contempt of court for not paying the judgment, and harassment. His bail was set higher than he could afford. At the hearing, Jenna and I showed up. We sat quietly while Doug ranted at the judge, blaming us, blaming the HOA, blaming society. The judge wasn't impressed. Mr. Sawyer. Yes, Doug Sawyer, finally saying his full name here. At every step you escalated your own problems. You turned neighbors into enemies. You neglected the law, your responsibilities, and common decency. Doug was sentenced to 90 days in county jail for contempt and trespassing. And the judgment? still hanging over his head when he got out. After all that, Jenna and I finally felt at peace. We hosted a small party for family and friends, the same people who'd been there at the wedding disaster. This time, there were no dogs crashing the yard. No angry neighbors. Just laughter, good food, and a simple toast to rebuilding, to standing up for yourself, and to not letting bullies win. The garden where Diesel once trampled the flowers? We turned it into a memorial garden. Not for Diesel, but as a reminder. Respect is planted here. Grow it, or move along. Last I heard, Doug tried to move out of state. But with a criminal record, liens, and fines, it wasn't going well. As for Jenna and me? Still married. Still living in Pinecrest. Still refusing to let one man's bitterness define us. And if you ask me whether I regret any of it? Not one bit.